Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today's August 22nd, and we're here with business and security news because everything's back right with the world, section-wise, of the stories.
When was it wrong?
We've had to do like a couple episodes where it's business and something else. Usually it's always business security up front.
By defining a standard, are we becoming too rigid?
Is the format too formulaic?
Also, what a drink you've got
Oh,
today.
it's pumpkin spice season, chat.
Oh, wow.
Because it's our first day without like a gazillion % humidity.
Some people might argue that you should wait for September for that.
No, I get a pass because I'm a white girl. We get excited for fall.
Racial bonus. Well, you know who doesn't get a pass? The ISPs. Because universally, we all hate them and we know what tricks they're up to, but they just keep succeeding with these tricks despite everyone being onto them. What's going on?
ISPs complain that listing every fee is too hard and urge the FCC to scrap their new rule. This is like the fourth story we've covered on this, but this keeps getting traction because it's so absurd and people like to point and laugh. What world do we live in where this is even tolerated?
Oh, it's also true that most propaganda works on repetition, especially lobbying, and it's effective. Yet to be seen whether or not they'll get away with it. But so they're saying that, hey, we have so many hidden fees that this would be just a giant sheet of paper. It's going to be bad for the environment. They don't actually say that, but I'm sure they will eventually. And the response from the government and sane people is you don't have to itemize those fees. You can just roll it all up into the final cost, and then you don't have to print anything extra. But I didn't want to do that.
Huh. Can I just put like would it just be too hard for me to list all the reasons I can't pay my bill? Like, would they accept that? Like,
other expenses I've had this month.
Yeah.
And, as much as the ISPs hate to give us information, the government hates that we have information that it doesn't.
This legal loophole, or the legal loophole that lets the government search your phone. That's the headline, but you dig into it, and this person is conflating searching your phone with searching your phone, figuring out you have social media accounts, and then demanding the social media account data, which is not actually something that requires a warrant. They try to consider that a business record. And the criteria for demanding a business record of your transactions with a company is much lower in a lot of jurisdictions and a lot of states. You don't even have to have a warrant. The police can just say, hey, can you give us the business records for this person? And with a few narrow exceptions like your VHS tapes rental records, those are not protected.
But they also point out that let's say that I have done something on Snapchat that's illegal and the cops want to get my phone to search my Snapchat, which they don't have to do, but they'll try to. During that search, they will dump the entire phone.
Well,
they'll search the entire phone.
They'll ask the judge for a warrant that lets them search the entire phone, even though they know they probably only really need Snapchat.
But the warrant doesn't have to be itemized in that way for electronic devices like it does your house.
They don't have to itemize the bill.
Exactly, yeah.
Weird how that works.
And this is not a shock, but they have discovered that the Chinese hacking has targeted some individuals in our government.
A Republican lawmaker says Chinese hackers breached his emails. Okay. I was looking for something here that was like a concerted effort, and this is such a common thing happening. It's hard to believe that he was targeted specifically, but once they realized who it was when they were in, did they take different action? Yeah, probably.
Now, it wasn't him finding it out. It was the FBI who figured it out, and they were like, oh, this is somewhat important. We should tell them. And they did. And he press released it.
I think it was mostly like, at least according to his account, it was all political strategy, like that kind of stuff, or personal email. It wasn't anything top secret, but
these days, I'm sure there's plenty of embarrassing stuff in your political strategy.
Yeah.
And we have... like we've talked about so many times, they don't have to spy on you these days. They just buy the data from third parties, which is a cozy relationship that the government really likes, which is why I don't believe what they're saying here.
U.S. watchdog to announce plans to regulate surveillance industry. This is software that we've covered the past couple of months that lets you spy on your spouse, for example. It's like, we're going to regulate that. It's like, no, you don't. That's not a valid industry.
But much like gun control, the argument here isn't let's get rid of it. The argument is the government needs a monopoly on it. Because they're not going to stop doing this exact same thing.
It also seems like that they're trying to loop in. One of the things that I worry about is that it seems like they're trying to loop in your own like home security system. It's like if you deploy your own home security system that's not cloud-based, are they going to, by regulation requirement, have some sort of hook or backdoor into that?
And when it comes to their incestuous relationship with the private data brokers, the ones that they allow, not the ones that they want to ban, they want to actually make that a little easier.
To battle new threats, spy agencies to share more intelligence with the private sector. So this is going the other way. Instead of the intelligence analysts buying business data, this is the intelligence analysts sharing intelligence with the private sector.
I guarantee you that will flow in both directions.
Yes.
The thing that stuck out to me in this article is that there's no like funding or real outline for how that's going to work, but it was still a 16-page document.
Yeah.
What did they put in it? Was it just all like 72-point font? We should share data with each other.
They're astonishingly good at saying nothing verbosely.
Yeah.
That's one of the big job requirements actually for government.
One of the things I want to do when looking at all these kind of documents is evaluate catastrophic failures of our intelligence, like the OPM hack, in the light of this document. Like, would whatever they're describing in random document have prevented the OPM hack? And the answer so far has always been no.
And they are quick to point out the shortcomings. However, again, I don't think there's a lot of answers here, just accusations and the nebulous do better.
White House orders federal agencies to shore up their cybersecurity and warns of potential exposure. Yeah, remember SolarWinds?
Yeah, that was back in 2021, and they said no one has really done anything about that since 2021.
Yeah. We'll have some more stories about that in the security section from DEF CON. Thanks, DEF CON.
But I think a lot of that's also built in, right?
Yeah.
Like it's by design. Like the Department of Defense can't pass an audit. How many years now has it been since they've passed an audit?
A very long time.
That's not an accident.
They can't even manage their contracts properly.
You can't disappear that money if the trail is clearly defined. That's the whole point. And the just when the big companies, the big tech companies, they do things that are so egregious that it actually steps over the line and someone has to pay attention. It's a big story, and HP has certainly done that, but they're not alone.
Judge denies HP's plea to throw out the all-in-one printer lockdown lawsuit. The lawsuit in question, when your printer's out of ink, it won't scan anything. Spoiler alert, those things are not related in terms of the internal functionality of your printer.
It needs the ink to lubricate the scanning parts.
Well, it certainly would seem that it uses the ink in that way, given that the ink disappears over time.
If they could figure out a way to do that and just have the ink evaporate during that process, they for sure would. But yeah, so they tried to get it dismissed, and they said, well, these customers knew what they were getting into, but the documentation doesn't really tell you this. People didn't discover this until they ran out of ink.
No one would think that it works that way because that's stupid.
Yeah, that's insane. Who would design it that way?
It's so stupid.
And here's something that we already knew, but somehow it's taken this long to admit.
Reuters. The Reuters headline is Bankman-Fried used $100 million in stolen FTX funds for political donations, the U.S. says. So that they were the less inflammatory less clickbait headline is Bankman-Fried $100 million used for FTX funds has been traced to funds that came from FTX, not his personal funds. So
now, if you recall last week, they actually dismissed those charges because it's the Bahamas, right?
yeah, we didn't share that those charges were on the table when we asked for him to be apprehended by the Bahamian authorities.
You're right. They did not give extradition on that charge. So I think they're going to dismiss them and then use this new information to reapply those charges. Also, did I put the story in? I think
he's in prison, right?
Yeah, I didn't put the story in about that, but he is now in jail because he won't stop doing dumb stuff while on house arrest.
He certainly acts as if he doesn't think he did anything wrong, which is probably
It could just be a mental disorder.
Is that a cover or is he just that dumb? Like,
Yeah. And good news, if you're worried about space wars coming up and what we're going to do about it, don't worry. We've got it all planned out.
U.S. Space Force creates its first unit dedicated to targeting adversary satellites.
the image didn't load for me when I read this article, and that image is absolutely incredible. I want that on a bumper sticker.
I mean, that's way better than the friendship is magic style unicorn pony. I mean,
But it's weird because the Reaper reaps souls, and the things they're attacking in space don't have souls. So the Reaper, what is he going to be doing in this situation?
He directs the laser. He's got a staff with a laser.
Is there a satellite Reaper?
he's hungry for satellite
components. Yeah.
So yeah, this is about attacking enemy satellites or possibly spacecraft if we get to that point. I guess there'd be some souls on board there. But mostly, if it comes down to it and we decide we want to shut down Chinese GPS or something like that, these are the guys that are going to be shooting at it.
They said that they're like, we've had this, program in mind for 4 years and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, is that, I don't know. It seems silly to do, but I guess we'll see.
And it seems like in the age of live streaming, the copyright cartel is getting a new breath, a new life in them. And they're getting a lot more leniency from the lawmakers.
Court orders SportsBay to pay almost $500 million for violating DMCA. Now, SportsBay, they kept up with torrent trackers of live TV.
I think this is an actual live streaming site, right?
I think it iframed it is what it said in the article.
They would actually get a token from the live site somehow and pass it through.
Interesting.
So these guys determined that should be about $200 per offense, which comes to about $500 million.
Because if this site hadn't existed, they would have made $500 million more dollars, obviously.
I think some of those people probably just wouldn't have participated.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is blatantly illegal what they were doing, and they knew it. Can't argue that. I mean, they were literally logging into a website to steal its content. And some people think that a good way to deal with things they don't like is to expose your secrets online. And that's a kind of a legal gray area, oddly enough. But in one state, not anymore.
Illinois just made it possible to sue people for doxing attacks. States crack down on doxing, but there's still no federal law.
The thing that's weird about this is it's based on harmful intent. It's like, well, that's kind of hard to prove, isn't it?
Yeah. And also, damages would have to be in there and everything because you're suing for civil. This feels like just, trying to control.
Yeah.
It does seem like that this would be like the harmful intent with if you use doxing to rise to the level of like swatting, then it would be an easier time prosecuting that, I think, with this law.
Well, when you look at who is behind this, that ain't what it's about.
I think there was a quote from like the ACLU in here too, and they're like, please don't do this.
Yeah.
It's going to be abused.
A little bit of good news. Unfortunately, you see this headline and you think, well, at least they learned from their mistakes. But let's not forget, this is the second time, at least the second time. Well, the second public
That
time.
we know about.
The third time that we've covered, second time this exact thing happened.
And probably the 100th,
Yeah.
1,000th time.
Detroit police changing facial recognition policy after pregnant woman says she was wrongly charged. Now, this is after the Detroit police said they were changing their facial recognition policy last year when the black dude got arrested at a barbecue in his own yard.
So the rule now is that they can still do this, but they can't compare AI generated face in a lineup. Because what happened here is they showed the victim, and the victim was like, yeah, for sure, that's the one. Can't do that anymore. You have to have 2 supervisors, or maybe it was 3, sign off on a warrant based on AI. There's some checks and balances, but they could easily just be rubber stamped, it seems like.
You would think if they showed him anything other than just a headshot, when it's very obvious she's 8 months pregnant, there would have been a moment of like, oh, wait, that wasn't them.
No. They didn't do that. And we have seen more and more big tech companies, when the legislation goes against them, they just say, all right, we're out. we're done.
Lyft and Uber say they could leave Minneapolis if the mayor signs a minimum wage bill for drivers.
Oh no.
But this bill is kind of crazy because you get paid for downtime. Like you don't have to be moving someone. You can just be waiting and you get something. You also get mileage payment. I think it's 51 cents per. Oh, no, it's $1.40 per mile at 51 cents per minute. I don't know if that includes the downtime, but the downtime also gets some kind of payment.
I wondered, is this standard to like what taxis do?
Yeah.
Is that comparable?
Well, I don't know about in
so.
Minneapolis. In the medallion taxi, it's more owner operator, but in like the franchise taxi thing, there are minimums like that. That's part of the reason why some of those yellow cab things are like you have to use our car, and so they get the mileage and then you get the hourly. And they
Which
make
also seems like a terrible deal for the driver.
Yeah, well, no, the driver gets all of the money that's allocated for the labor the driver gets, but the company makes the money on the car mileage.
Which
No.
makes sense if they're
But-
taking care of the car.
But it takes the choice
Yeah.
away from the driver,
Yeah, the driver hasn't.
which
yeah,
is what this is doing.
yeah.
And the EU is, they're looking into smartphones. We have some pretty good data that smartphones might not be the best thing for anybody, especially children. And they are going to rule.
The EU wants to cure your teen's smartphone addiction. Adolescents are unhappier than ever before, but is technology to blame?
Seems likely.
I don't use my smartphone all that much. I'm unhappier than before.
Yeah.
It seems there was a quote from a psychologist in this who was like, I don't know that it's social media. And I was kind of like, are you? I know that there's not always great studies about this, but it seems to have a pretty obviously detrimental effect.
Empirically, I think what they're suggesting, which is mostly just limiting time, they're probably going to do the China thing where it's based on your age and you get a total amount of hours per day.
Yeah.
But I would argue that while these are probably good ideas, these are good ideas for parents to enforce, not the government.
Your teen needs some ideas for activities they can do that'll build self-esteem and make them feel good that they spent their time wisely. Obviously, the government should be the one to set what those things are.
And this might be one of the first targets for the Space Reapers.
Oh,
China launches their first geosynchronous orbit radar satellite.
can't we all just be happy in space together?
Neat.
Not their first, the first. This is some kind of crazy new kind of radar. They describe in the article how that's going to be it's going to be focused on China. I don't know. I think it might peak in some other directions once in a while.
Their balloons have gotten caught too many times. Now they're like, well, crap.
And we all know that the AdWords is a dark, dark place. And in fact, if you are a popular business, you may have to end up buying AdWords for your own name so that when people search for your name, you are the first search result. Because otherwise, the first search result is going to be an ad of someone who is poaching your name, but not in India.
Google required to remove ads that violate trademarks, Indian court rules. In the past, you could kind of submit your trademark and say you shouldn't let people buy ads for this trademark, at least here in America, but it's kind of a pain to go through that process.
The Verge has this new format, and I like how
It's
compact it is.
It's so clear. It's like, we didn't really want to spend the time to just talk about a social media article. So we're just going to post the link here and then you can comment on it.
So
We just want the engagement without actually having to do any writing.
yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But this does very succinctly point out that everybody wants Nvidia chips.
Countries are scrambling to buy Nvidia's AI chips, and there's a social media post to do that. And then we're covering the Verge article that covered the social media post and added two more sentences.
Store.level1text.com.
Yeah, basically.
Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates both making large purchases.
Now, is Saudi Arabia going to be like really angry when next year or the year after those GPUs have lost 75 to 90% of their value?
There'll be a new buzzword and they can put that on there instead. A new sticker.
And the social media companies in these Middle Eastern countries often fall afoul of the leadership, and they get smacked down for not agreeing to just remove whatever content they're told. Well, that kind of happens here too, doesn't it? But one of them has agreed.
Iraq has lifted the ban on Telegram after messaging app complies with the local authorities. That seems strange.
That would make me a little nervous to use Telegram if I was there.
Oh no, yet not more evidence in the suspicious use of Telegram column. No.
So these were group posts or whatever, group chats, and they said some stuff that might have been a little critical. Some of the government policies, they were told those had to be taken down. Telegram pushed back, but not for long. Now they're gone. And we've got a new kind of phishing attack, which is targeting, as usual, our infrastructure.
Major U.S. energy organization targeted in QR code phishing attack. What's a QR code phishing attack? It's just a phishing attack that uses a QR code because you can't read a QR code to see where it's going to go.
And you don't have to put links in your email, so it doesn't get flagged with the spam. They also picked up a bing.com URL and hijacked that and added their redirect to the end here.
You know, there's that AI somebody trained that'll give you images that are recognized as a QR code as well.
Would be a good next step, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like a little logo. But how would you get them to take
like,
a picture of it?
It's like you wouldn't believe this. Take a picture of this image to unlock the secrets with your phone.
Oh,
People would definitely fall for that.
Yeah.
how about you do like one, like where you have to unfocus your eyes, but you tell them that it's only visible to your phone.
Yeah.
Look at this fun new thing we've got.
Yeah. It's so easy. It's so easy.
It's so easy.
Now, you might not be doing a lot of house browsing these days on account of that 7% mortgage rate. You're going to end up paying, I think right now we're at 2 times the amount of the house over 30 years.
I'm so thankful I don't have any more real estate sites I maintain. Otherwise, people would be going insane right now.
But that might not be the only reason that you're not seeing any hot new homes on Zillow this week.
Real estate markets scramble following cyber attack on listings provider Rapatoni. Yeah. MLS, multiple listing systems. It's this awful database system. They pretty much cornered the market. And, real estate agents, they use this thing. It's down. It's going to be down for a while.
Ooh.
Imagine explaining this to angry realtors.
I don't. There's not enough hours.
I'm
in the
imagining
day.
our realtor that we both used, and she wouldn't.
Yeah.
No, we dealt a lot with realtors before you worked here, and they're not the most understanding people.
Mm.
Oh my goodness.
More pop-ups.
And over in Ireland, they had a very interesting thing happen, and this shows how quickly people will focus in on an exploit.
Yeah.
In the age of social media, if there's an exploit, it'll spread so rapidly.
Bank of Ireland warns money withdrawn during IT blunder will be debited as online services are restored.
So they figured out that you could, using the 365 online services, you could then transfer to another service and then withdraw that money from an ATM. And none of it counted anywhere. So your account didn't change. Even if you had a zero balance, you could perform this trick. So now lots of people in Ireland are going to get overdraft fees.
Ooh.
As they go back and apply this.
They're bad.
But they had a hell of a weekend. So much fun.
BRB.
Oh, Wendell has real life obligation.
I'll be right back.
To them, you'll probably be back in the next episode.
Yeah.
And Discord is the hot new communication platform, which makes it a target for hackers.
Discord.io confirms breach after hacker steals data of 760,000 users.
Now, this is not Discord, the Discord service, even though they are Discord.io. They're a service that allows you to create custom invite links for people to your Discord, which everybody does these days relentlessly. Join our Discord. Come on, join it.
This is not the dream of the web.
Here's what they got, which is a lot of stuff.
Yeah. That's,
This is
password is in there.
auth key, but that's important.
Yeah.
And this was such a huge breach and such a problem that they have now announced they're just going to wrap it up. They're done.
Wow. Uncomfy.
And MOVEit. We just can't get a week without more bad MOVEit news.
Millions of Americans' health data stolen after MOVEit hackers targeted IBM.
The most interesting about this headline, IBM still has not announced. Although under the new hacking rules, they would have had to tell the government.
They're just not telling their
Not
users.
telling their users. And this was another one where they got a fair amount of stuff.
I can't read that.
Social security number is the worst one there, I guess. Medical data, lab results, and medication.
That seems like that would be something you wouldn't want to share necessarily.
4.1 million individuals.
Ooh, that's going to be a hefty payment if they ever get punished for it.
It's a big if.
Oh, I didn't hear about this one.
And DEF CON happened. And as usual, there was a lot of shenanigans and people looking to exploit things, which is what you want to do there, right? It's the one
That's
time
the
a
point,
year you
yeah.
can just go crazy. But apparently some people have to take it to the next level.
Bomb scare causes mass evacuation at DEF CON. I didn't see anything about this. I mean, I didn't see the story either, but like, you'd think usually it would be like trending somewhere.
I don't think the normies really
Know
care
anything
too
about
much
that?
about this.
Surprising.
It was the party night. It wasn't like the presentations. It was the night when everybody was supposed to just get together and drink and mingle.
Have fun, yeah.
And somehow they got a suspicious box. The bomb squad had to come in, but it took so long that
Kind of killed the vibe of the
yeah,
party.
the party was just over. They did point out, which the Register describes these guys as gravy seals.
Oh,
They had this special team, and they even got special patches. Look at that, which was hired by DEF CON to try and mitigate any kind of weirdness going on. But they're not bomb trained, apparently.
ooh. What what was the box? What was in the box?
Nothing. Innocent box.
Someone just got an Amazon package and
Pokemon
tossed it.
cards.
Yeah,
Oh, you're gonna have a hard time with
I
this
am
one
gonna
because,
have. I can't read the title or the link.
But well, let me do it then. It's Apple has this new feature that runs in the background, and it's supposed to warn you if any kind of software is installed that is persistent. And it's like, hey, did you just install some software? Because if you didn't, maybe be suspicious. Well, DEF CON took a crack at that too.
I can't. Yeah, an Apple malware, easy to bypass. There's a giant thing in the middle of it.
Background task management is flawed, and they have found several ways to defeat it. And this guy actually, this is like his thing. He had gotten Apple to fix a glaring problem with it like a year ago. And they actually did. I think they paid him a bounty. But he described it as duct taping a car that's on fire.
Ooh.
So apparently, it's a lot of easy ways. Maybe you shouldn't trust that. And quantum computing, well, it looks like we're not going to get superconducting computing.
Oh, that was the tragic story of the week.
But we still might get quantum computing eventually, and that will mean the end to all of our encryption keys Chrome aims to avoid.
Google Chrome to shield encryption keys from promised quantum computers.
So it's got, look at this. You know, Krista, you love when we use just numbers and codes to represent hardware.
Yeah, it drives me crazy.
So-
I get it because like backpacking gear can have some weird names like that too, but
How about X25519 Kyber 768? Just rolls off the tongue. doesn't-
that makes me want to murder someone. Like who was like, yeah, you know what? This is intuitive.
Well, X25519, which is elliptic curve. So if you're doing level 1 bingo, you've already got OPM earlier. Now you get elliptic curve. Unfortunately, Wendell's not here to make the comment. And then the Kyber part is something that they're using with that, the software that they're using with that. So if you're paranoid about the future, Chrome is going to let you start using that.
Who thinks that's a good someone maybe there's more of an explanation about why they named it that, but like that just seems
Because there's lots of
deliberately obtuse.
people come up with a lot of different encryption
Right.
methods, and it's like stars.
There's just so many that it's like, well,
Yeah.
I'll just name it whatever.
And we don't know which one we're going to use. So until we decide to use it, it doesn't make any sense naming it.
What if we thought about people that way? Well, we don't know if it'll be useful.
We kind of just reproduce people's names, right?
Yeah, I guess you just reuse people's names. For
Like,
the most part.
I mean, and look at
I'm named after family.
look at online usernames, right? People just start putting numbers behind them.
420.
You know who was the first to do that? The popes. Well, Microsoft has been looking into some serious infrastructure security and, surprise, surprise, found it lacking.
Microsoft finds vulnerabilities it says could be used to shut down power plants. Put that one on the bingo card.
So CodeSys is the system that they use to control things like valves and relays and stuff like that. So they were looking into it and they found 15 different exploits. You can go and link to them here and check them out. And
Feel a little nervous about your infrastructure and how you get water and power and things like that to your house.
the easy mode is that you could denial of service these. Wow, come on.
There's so many sirens going by. I don't know that the mics will pick that up, but
That one was pretty loud. You could denial of service these things pretty easily, which would just cause the power station to stop doing something or the valve to stop opening and closing, which would probably shut things down. But the more terrifying thing is if you could go in and do the Stuxnet style thing where, you know, it's like, just keep reporting that the temperature is fine.
ugh. Oh, another Wired has really gotten bad about the pop up.
And it's such a trivial thing to bypass. Let me try to remember what this is. Oh, right. This is the Boston mass transit system. Let's see how much of this you can piece together.
Teens hacked Boston transit system, infinite free rides, and this TikTok exposed it.
TikTok.
It looks like, is that a TI at the underneath?
Time. This time. So last time, someone actually at DEF CON,
Of course.
so I think it was 5 years ago, someone figured this out. And they set up their DEF CON presentation and they were like, yes, I'm ready to present. And Boston got it shut down.
Ooh.
They're like, this is too damaging. You cannot tell people about this without giving us a chance to fix it. Well, it's been 5 years, and guess what they didn't do?
Wow.
So actually, the new cards are they're like near field. It's a different technology. You don't have to actually swipe it anymore.
Oh, okay.
And it's even better now. And it was done by high school students. So they can not only add money to your card, they can turn your card into a administrator card.
Oh,
So you can
just
just
get in wherever. Yeah.
do whatever you want. The city of Boston has invited these guys to come and give a presentation to their people. Actually, I think it already happened.
But you already knew about it. Why was it not patched before?
That's hard. And bad news if you are into hosting dangerous websites.
Bulletproof, hosting site that allegedly enabled 400 ransomware attacks, seized, founder indicted.
These guys, their motto was anything but the worst thing that we're not
You can
allowed to.
imagine, right?
So they were up for, hey, if you're doing ransomware, if you're doing DDoS or whatever, yeah, you can do it here. And this guy is still on the run. They mentioned that he was able to get as much as 5,000 Bitcoins, but they estimate that to be $146 million. However, we don't know when he sold that. So it could be more or less, depending on all of that. Not a bad payday.
Still, yeah, pretty good chunk of change, probably.
And some bad news if you have a new car, especially if it's a Ford.
Ford owners using Sync 3 infotainment should turn off Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi driver vulnerability allows remote code execution.
Now, your car does have to be running, and the infotainment system has to be turned on. But if that's the case, it's pretty trivial for people to get in there. It is also separated from like the throttle and the, braking and steering and everything. So
They did that much right.
yeah, probably not that catastrophic, but at this point, they would normally push a fix over the Wi-Fi.
Oh,
But
tragic.
There's no Wi-Fi. So you're going to have to use USB. However, it's not available yet. So you have to monitor this story until it becomes available, put it on a USB, and manually update your car.
Maybe we shouldn't have Wi-Fi enabled cars.
I mean, not only do we have Wi-Fi in the car, but we usually have 4 or 5G that's fueling the Wi-Fi hotspot. Who could have predicted that would
That
go?
would cause a problem. Who knew? Anyway, that's it for this one. Looks like Wendell did not finish his call in time to hit the end of this one, but we will see you guys in the next one, and he should be back by then.
We'll give him a few minutes.
Yeah. Bye!